Shalom, shalom, and welcome to STI. Today we have a part 3 with author Lois Schurek. Welcome.
Thank you, Gabriella. Yes, and welcome to the third reading of the book of the Revelation Timeline Revealed. We begin in chapter 4 of the book, which is chapter 13 of Revelation. We started our timeline by placing Christ's millennial kingdom and bookended it with the binding and loosing of the dragon. Next, with the help of scripture, we cleared up the misuse around the word Antichrist in the last chapter. We have discerned who the little horn is from the book of Daniel. We proved once again with scripture how he is the same as beast number 1 in the book of Revelation. The task before us in this chapter is to dive headfirst into the book of Revelation, keeping in mind God gave us this book so we could know his plans for the future. Prophecy is a divine revelation from Yod-He Vav-He, and in this book, we are seeking to unlock some of that revelation. 2 Timothy 3:16, all scripture is given by inspiration of Yah and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, and for instruction in righteousness. The questions now before us are, who are the beasts in the book of Revelation? When will they appear on our timeline? How long do they reign on earth? What is their final fate? Before we go on, let's add the word beast to our definition. It is therion. It's a Greek word 2342. It's from the diminutive form of the same G2339, and it means a dangerous animal, venomous wild beast. There are 29 verses in the book of Revelation spanning 8 chapters, containing the phrase, the beast. Let's look at all 29 verses using the phrase to determine how it is being used, to whom it is referring, and we can see from these meanings the phrase of the beast is used elsewhere in the Bible to describe a wild venomous animal or beast. Could it be that God chose this word beast to describe the nature of the entity or being that will bear this title during the final years on earth? If the book of Revelation is using this term to describe the nature of the being, can we make further observation to help us determine where to place this being on our timeline? We will begin by listing all the scripture references from the verses, followed by the actual verses from the book of Revelation. I will be highlighting the word beast in bold and underlying identifying factors to help us when we compose a table to see if they are in fact the same beast or different beasts coming upon the earth. If they are different beasts, do they appear on the earth at the same time or different times? Let's get started. So I'm not going to just read the text, but we'll have John begin.
This is Revelation 11:7. And when they may finish their testimony, the beast that is coming up out of the abyss shall make war with them and overcome them and kill them. That's the Young's literal translation. Revelation 13:1. And I stood upon the sea. I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw out of the sea a beast coming up, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon its horns 10 diadems, and upon its heads a name of evil speaking. And the beast that I saw was like to a leopard, and its feet as a bear, and its mouth was as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon did give its power and his throne and great authority. And I saw one of the heads as slain to death, and his deadly stroke was healed, and all the earth wondered after the beast. They did bow before the dragon, who did give authority to the beast. And they did bow before the beast, saying, who is like the beast? Who is able to make war with it? And I saw another beast coming up out of the land. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and was speaking as a dragon. And all the authority of the first beast doth it before it, and maketh the land and those dwelling in it, that they should bow before the first beast, whose deadly stroke was healed. And it leadeth astray those dwelling on the earth because of the signs that were given it to do before the beast, saying, those dwelling upon the land to make an image to the beast, and hath the stroke of the sword, and did live.
Revelation 13:50. And there was given to it to give a spirit to the image of the beast, that also the image of the beast may speak, and that it may cause as many as shall not bow before the image of the beast, that they may be killed. And that Revelation 13:17, and that no one may be able to buy or sell except he who has having the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name. Revelation 13:18, there is wisdom, here is wisdom. He who has having understanding, let him count the number of the beast, for the number of a man it is, and its number is 666. Revelation 14:9. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and received his mark in his forehead or in his hand, Revelation 14:11, and the smoke of their torment doth go up to ages of ages, and they have no rest day and night, who are bowing before the beast and his image. Also, if any doth receive the mark of his name. Revelation 15:11, and I saw as a sea of glass mingled with fire, and those who do it gain the victory over the beast and his image and his mark and the number of his name, standing by the sea of the glass, having harps of God. Revelation 16:2, and the first did go away, and did pour out his vial upon the land, and there came a sore, bad and grievous to men, those having the mark of the beast, and those bowing down to his image. Revelation 16:10, and the fifth messenger did pour out his vial upon the throne of the beast, and his kingdom did become darkened, and they were gnawing in their tongues from the pain. Gnawing their tongues from the pain. Revelation 16:13, and I saw come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, 3 unclean spirits like frogs. Revelation 17:3, and he carried me away to a wilderness in the spirit, and I saw a woman sitting upon the scarlet-colored beast, full of names of evil speaking, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Revelation 17:7, and the messenger said to me, wherefore didst thou wonder? I will tell you the secret of the woman and of the beast that is carrying her, which hath 7 heads and 10 horns.
Revelation 17:8, the beast that thou didst see, it was, it is not, and is about to come up out of the abyss, and go away to destruction. And wonder shall those dwelling upon the earth, whose names have not been written upon the scroll of life from the foundation of the world. Behold, the beast that was, and is not, although it is. 17:11. And the beast that was, and is not, is also, is 8th, and out of the 7 he is, and to his destruction he does go. And when the 10 horns that thou saw are 10 kings, who a kingdom did not yet receive, but authority as kings the same hour to receive with the beast. These have one mind, and their own power and authority to the beast they shall give over. Revelation 17:16. And the 10 horns that thou did see upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and they shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and shall burn her in fire. For Elohim did give into her their hearts to do its mind, and to make one mind, and to give their kingdom to the beast, till the sayings of Elohim may be made complete. Revelation 19:19. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies having been gathered together to make war with him who is sitting upon the horse and with his army. And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet, who did the signs before him, in which he led astray those who did receive the mark of the beast, and those who did bow down before his image. Living they were cast, the two, to the lake of fire that is burning with brimstone. Revelation 20, verse 4. And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and the judgment was given to them, and the souls of those who had been beheaded because of the testimony of Yahushua, and because of the word of Elohim, and who did not bow before the beast, nor his image, and did not receive the mark upon their forehead or upon their hand, and they did not live, and they did live and reign with Christ the 1,000 years. Revelation 20, verse 10. And the devil, who was leading them astray, was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where are the beast and the false prophet, and they shall be tormented day and night to ages of the ages.
I use Young's literal there because it just is a little more like how it was written in the Greek, but we're not very familiar with it. But I wanted to introduce it. So, okay, that was quite a list. Thank you, gentlemen. That was really a lot of reading. Now, I know you've all made mental notes of all the identifying factors, right? Okay, I'm just kidding. I know for sure compiling the following table will help us identify and sort out the underlined information about the beasts. 3 separate beasts will emerge, all existing on Earth at slightly different times, although I do believe 2 of these time periods exist one right after another, or they overlap. Let's carry on to see if we can unravel the beasts. I will list the scriptures from the book of Revelation in the biblical order, and I will color code the information in the table that pertains to each beast, forming a picture of them. So light blue scripture, light blue coloring will be beast 1, Revelation 13. Green will be beast 2, Revelation 13. And orange will be the beast in Revelation 20. So here we go. So you can see the very first scripture verse, Revelation 11:7 comes out of the abyss. So therefore I've colored that one orange because we know that the dragon was put there before the millennium and is released after. He does make war with the saints and he kills some saints. So at least 2 that I know of. So, and in Revelation 11:1 through 4, those are all blue. They come out of the sea, or that's one beast coming out of the sea. It has 7 heads, 10 horns. It has, it looks like a leopard, feet like a bear, mouth like a lion, speaks like, it has the power of the dragon, and requires all to worship him. Now the next 11:13 through 17 show us a picture of what Revelation, or what Yah said is called beast 2. And it comes out of the earth. It has 2 horns. It speaks like a dragon. It has the power of the first beast, which is from the dragon. It makes the earth and all the people on the earth to worship it. It does signs and wonders, so it does miracles. It makes and force mankind to create an image of beast 1. It gives that image the ability to speak and live. It requires all to worship that image, and it kills all who will not worship beast one, and it is the instigator. That beast is the instigator of the mark of the beast. Now, the next few passages just give us information that I couldn't really or didn't want to say it is a certain beast. So like the first, it gives us information about those trying to discern who the beasts are. And then 14, 11, and 9 is a stern warning not to receive the mark. And 15 is a picture of a sea of glass with those who have gained victory over this beast, which I believe are the martyred saints. In 16:2, the first vial is poured out. Grievous sores break out on mankind who have the mark. 16:10, the fifth vial is poured upon the throne of the beast, and it turns into darkness. And in 16:13 and 14, the beast, the dragon, and the false prophet release 3 unclean spirits with power to do miracles. And so 17:3, I believe, is beast 1 again. We see a woman, but this time we have a little bit more information that the beast is scarlet colored, and it has 7 heads, 10 horns, and full of evil names. Now we jump back to the beast 20. It's Revelation 17:7. And in this verse, it reveals the mystery of the beast, of the woman on the beast of the first beast in Revelation 13. This one comes out of the abyss, again, we're told, but it is not, and yet it is. So that's very important information about this third beast, or the Revelation 20 beast, and it goes into perdition. Sits on 7 hills, 7 mountains, and is sat on by the woman. Now, we already learned the woman is on the first beast, so she must transfer at this point. So out of the abyss, it comes again, and then it says it is not, but yet it is the 8th of the 7. And we know the 7, or we've learned that the 7 are the 7 literal kings that ruled the kingdoms from Daniel to now. And we learned that the 7 is the 13 as beast 1 of Revelation 13. So we can see that that beast in Revelation 20 is now the 8th of that sequence. So back, and we jump back to the first beast, Revelation 17:12, because we know it has 10 horns and 10 kings, and the kings have no authority. So as on the earth, the beast gives them his authority. All 10 are of one mind, and they give their human power to the beast. I thought that's very interesting. Makes war with the Lamb, and the Lamb overcomes them. Then on verse 15, we see the waters are all people and nations. And in 16, we see the 10 horns on the beast. They hate the whore and make her desolate and burn her with fire, which is interesting. And then the 10 horn, 10 kings give their kingdom to the beast until the sayings of God is complete. So we now can see that Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh is in control. He is allowing this to happen. Revelation 19:19, the beasts and the kings. So 19 and 20 is again information. The beasts, the kings of the earth and their armies, they make war with Yahusha and his army. The beast and the false prophet are cast alive into the lake of fire. The martyred saints do not receive the mark of the beast, are resurrected, and they rule and reign with Christ 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years has expired, the dragon is released from his prison, or the abyss. So gain information. And then Revelations 20:10 talks about that third beast. So the dragon, the devil, Satan himself, is cast live into the lake of fire, where the beast and the false prophet are. So I hope you've enjoyed seeing the beast emerge from these pictures. We have proven there are, in fact, 3 distinct separate beasts we can and will place on our timeline, along with other events and characters. Let's get started. So the first thing we're going to come to is the first use of the word, of the phrase, I'm going to say it this way, is the beast. So John, do you want to read that verse?
Revelation 11:7. And when they finished their testimony, the beast that is coming up out of the abyss shall make war with them and overcome them and kill them.
Here we find some great information to help us with our timeline. But first, who is they in verse 7? And why is it important? Well, they are the two witnesses that have just completed 1,260 days of witnessing upon the earth. In the above verse, we discover a new character has entered the scene with the two witnesses. In the following verses, we learn a bit more about them. So who is treading the holy city for 42 months? When is this treading being done, and why is it important? Revelation 11, 1 through 7.
To me a reed like unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of God, and the altar, and them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple leave out, and measure it not, for it was given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city shall they tread underfoot 42 months. And I will give power unto my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. These are the two olive trees and the two candlesticks standing before Yahweh of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceeds out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. These have power to shut heaven, that it rain not the days of their prophecy, and have power over waters to turn them to blood, and to smite the earth with plagues as often as they will. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that hath ascended out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them.
This scripture is very important because it places where the two witnesses will appear on our timeline. It also sets out one of the 42-month periods and one of the 1,260-day periods we have often heard mentioned. The witnesses will appear after the millennium. How do I know this? Because verse 7 tells us that the beast that kills them ascends out of the bottomless pit. It is easy for us to use scripture to determine which beast this is and when he was placed in the bottomless pit. Let's refresh our memory and refer back to chapter 1, the 1,000-year millennial reign of Christ.
And I saw, this is Revelation 20, verses 1 through 3. And I saw an angel coming down from heaven, having the key to the bottomless pit, and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is called the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should not deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season.
Making this connection between the two passages helps clarify who this beast is. He is the dragon, the devil, Satan himself. Let's call him the dragon and add him to our list of definitions. We will adjust our timeline before we continue our research in the book of Revelation. So the dragon, when it's used in the future, will mean the name of the Revelation 20 beast bound before the 1,000-year millennium and released after. So thank you, Gabriella. She's popped up the next edition for our timeline. So we have placed the two Revelation, which is I think column 6, the two witnesses, right after the millennial reign. That's the only, that's the addition we've put in this section. From our very first book in the book of Revelation containing the word beast, the scriptures are clear. The term beast in the book of Revelation is not a literal wild venomous animal. No, the term is being used to describe the evil nature of the ruling entities. These entities will be known as the little horn or the beast, the false prophet, and the dragon himself. They will rise to power either just before or just after the millennial reign of Yahushua. Several new pieces of information can be gleaned from Revelation 11, 1 through 7. First, there is a literal temple. Not only does Zechariah 14, 1 through 21 and Jeremiah 3 through 7 both teach of a coming temple, which include an altar and people worshiping in it, and Revelation also proves there is a temple. It states,
Revelation 11, 1 and 2. And there was given to me a reed unto a rod, and the angel stood, saying, Rise and measure the temple of Elohim and the altar, and to them that worship therein. But the court which is without the temple, leave it out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles, and the holy city they tread under foot 40 and 2 months.
These verses are significant because they confirm that Jesus will be in the temple ruling from it. It was called his temple during his millennial reign. We can see the outer court has been given to the Gentiles, while the inner court still has worshipers in it. Again, this is important because it proved that Jesus had control over the whole earth, including the temple, before the period of Revelation 11, 1 through 7 begins. Why is this important? It shows without a doubt that Jesus will have a literal reign on earth, and there will be a temple for him to physically reign from for the 1,000 years. And an outer court will be ruled by him, not governed by Gentiles. Therefore, something significant must happen at the end of the 1,000 years, which allows the Gentiles to gain control over the temple court once again, trampling the holy city underfoot 42 months. This idea is further substantiated when we investigate the Greek meaning of the word to tread underfoot. It is G3961, and it said pateo. This is what it says: to tread, to trample, to crush with the feet, to advance by setting foot upon, tread upon, to encounter successfully the great perils from the machination and persecution with which Satan would fain thwart the preaching of the gospel, to tread underfoot, trample on, i.e., to treat with insult and contempt, to desecrate the holy city by devastation and outrage. The meaning conveyed in the Greek word pateo seems very clear. Under the direction and influence of the Antichrist spirit, the outer court of the temple will be insulted, desecrated, and trampled. The scriptures appear sparse when it comes to the actual detail about the event, yet God has commanded the outer court to be given to the dragon 42 months. This gives him permission to begin his siege on the earth one last time. Jesus, our Messiah, Yahusha, must leave for a short period. He will return. Could it be that the loosing of the dragon coincide with that exact moment Yahusha leaves? Does the very presence of Yahusha on the earth bind the dragon for the millennium, while his absence breaks the seal and releases him for the millennium or after the millennium? Verse 3 reads, and I will give power to my 2 witnesses, and they will prophesy 1,260 days. Prophesy what? This is after everything we have heard about in the church is complete. The Daniel 7 beast has come and gone, literally, judged to hell. Jesus has come to earth and set up his millennial kingdom and been reigning for 1,000 years. At this point, all that could be left is the final coming of Christ in the air, the rapture of the saints, the pouring out of God's wrath, following the destruction and cleansing of the current heaven and earth, plus the creation of the new heaven and earth. None of these events would appear to need any further prophecy, or would they? I want to suggest these witnesses are foretelling the wrath of God to come. God's will is that none should perish, but all should have eternal life. God is patient and slow to judgment, willing to give all humanity a fair chance at salvation. The witness of the two saints would be the final act of fairness, warning mankind not to reject him during his short absence. After all these people have seen, after they have been part of the millennium, after they have been warned, still many will reject the warning given by the two witnesses and follow the dragon. Revelations 27 through 10.
And when the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and he shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, and gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went upon the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about, and the beloved city. And fire came down from Yah out of heaven and devoured them. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, where the beast and the false prophet are, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever.
Again, I must stress, I am reading between the lines, but I believe the two witnesses somehow take on special authority given by Jesus in his absence. Perhaps they are there with him during part of the millennium. The Bible does not say. Nevertheless, the power they are given is unlike any power humanity has been given to date. Fire proceeds out of their mouth should anyone try to hurt them, and the fire they possess will devour all that oppose them. Have you ever wondered why they would need such immense power? I believe they are guarding the temple, along with giving a clear warning not to reject Yahusha. This warning will be hated by many, and they will seek to destroy the two witnesses. The 42-month period after the millennium is so different than the 42 months before the millennia, which I entitled The Wrath of a Little Horn. The dragon will be ruling during that period. The dragon will be ruling through his two beasts, the little horn and the false prophet. He will be enabling them to kill so many of God's people, but not this time. These two witnesses have the power, and they will kill all that oppose them. They will also be given exclusive ability to control the weather and will be able to smite the earth with plagues as often as they choose. Now that is power. If anyone is looking for a superhero, these two guys fit the bill. Since believers are not appointed to God's wrath, all God's fury and anger will be directed at the dragon, the Revelation 20 beast, including his followers, who are once again deceived into believing his lies. This is especially true since we have identified the Revelation 20 beast to be the dragon, the devil, Satan himself. I believe beasts 1 and 2 could be devils possessing human bodies while they are on earth. However, the dragon will not have a human body. He will be using the same body he used in the Garden of Eden. This will be the final showdown between God and the dragon, where our champion, our deliverer, our savior will emerge the victor. The timing of the rapture of the saints is still a question most believers want to have answered. It is, however, very challenging to pinpoint. It may happen simultaneously when the dragon is loosed from the bottomless pit, but most likely there will be some time between these two events, between the loosing of the dragon and the rapture of the saints. I will show you why. Allowing time could make way for the two witnesses and the final deception, which the dragon will bring upon the whole world. It is obvious it will take time to deceive the entire earth. Again, there are no scriptures which explicitly identify the timing of the rapture. But from the information we do have, the rapture, or catching up the saints, would seem to fit well after the dragon has loosed, considering most of our prophetic events will have been fulfilled at this point. The deception or the falling away has time to occur, and the saints will be protected by God, which is which is a great indicator that there will be a space of time between the loosing of the dragon and the rapture of the saints. It also proves the rapture will be after the dragon has been loosed. There would be no need to protect saints if there were no dragon to protect them from. Also, we have no descending scriptures to prove this wrong. Let's add this to our timeline. Remembering the term beast means a being and is used to describe the dragon during his period in human history. The dragon will be loosed for a short period after the millennia. From Revelations 11:2, we can further define a short period to mean 42 months. Let me show you. Revelation 11:2, 3, and 7. John?
Outside the temple, leave it out, and measure it not, for it is given unto the Gentiles. And the holy city shall they tread under foot 42 months. And I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days, clothed in sackcloth. And when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them, and shall overcome them and kill them.
It is the dragon who is the king over the Gentile nations. It is the dragon who will incite the trampling. At this point, he will only be allowed to trample the outer court for the 42 months, which is a short period. Daniel 7 uses almost the same language. Daniel 7:7b.
It devoured and brake in pieces and stampled the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns. Also, Daniel 7:23. Thus he said, for the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon earth, and it shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and it shall devour the whole earth, and it shall tread it down and break it in pieces.
It would seem reasonable to conclude the trampling of the outer court of the temple and the 2 witnesses happen simultaneously. We are not told what happens to the temple after the 42 months or where the 2 witnesses will be during their 1,260 days. But we are told the 2 witnesses where they will be when they are put to death. Revelation 11:8.
And their bodies, their dead bodies, shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where our master was crucified.
They are in Jerusalem, where the temple will be. The 2 witnesses not only prophesy 1,260 days, but I believe they protect the inner court, the Holy of Holies in the temple. Once their days are fulfilled, they will be allowed to be put to death. The dragon will proceed into the temple, profaning it once again. Let's call this period when the dragon rules the final deception. Let's add all the new information to our timeline. Did you notice our timeline is getting too long to fit on one line? I will therefore be dividing it into 2 parts. So the first one doesn't have any changes in it, but the second part does. That's not the right slide, Gabriella. It's the one where the 2 witnesses and the dragon loosed. I'm not sure. I can't see all that. Can you flick one more up? There it is. Okay, so now our timeline. So these are the 2 columns I've added. They've been added after the 1,000 years. It's the 2 witnesses and the information pertaining to it, and the dragon loosed and the information pertaining to it. Now we have identified our timeline, the 2 witnesses, and the approximate length of time the dragon will rule on the earth. I feel it is important to keep in mind as we begin to sort out more verses that pertain to each time period. Let's look at the fact that Scripture records 2 different beasts in Revelation 13, one rising out of the sea and one out of the earth. You might recall the dragon comes out of the abyss at the bottomless pit. Let's see if we can determine who the second beast is and where he will take his place on our timeline. We have already established the little horn recorded in Daniel 7 is the first beast of Revelation 13. So Revelation 13:1 and 13:11.
And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rising and coming up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. Revelation 13. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon.
From the short description given in these 2 verses, Beast 2 appears very different from Beast 1. So who is Beast 2? And is there any information that would help tie him to either Beast 1, the wrath of the little horn before the millennia, or the Revelation 20 beast, the dragon, after, or the final deception period after the millennial reign of Yahusha? Perhaps reading the whole section would help. So this is a long read again. So someone want to read Beast 1 and then someone read Beast 2? Sorry, guys.
Beast 1, Revelation 13:1 through 10. And I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth was the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. And I saw one of his heads as if it had been wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all of the world wondered after the beast. And as they worshiped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast, and they worshiped, and the beast saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? There was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against Elohim, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle, and to them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And the power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. All that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names were not written in the book of life of the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
Beast 2, Revelation 13:11 to 15, and then 18. I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spoke as a dragon. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and he causes the earth and them that dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound has healed. And he doth great wonders, so that he maketh the fire to come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceives them that dwell on the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give unto the image of the beast, that image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, then that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let him that has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a man, and his number is
Okay, sorry, I missed that on that, is 603 Before we begin to record the information underlined in the above passage, a few things stood out to me. First being, there are crowns on the horns of the head of the first beast. Kings wear crowns, and crowns usually depict authority. Next, in verse 10, a declaration is made. All who kill God's people will be destroyed or killed the way they were. And the last thing I noticed is the primary focus of beast 2 is for all to worship beast 1 under threat of death. Let's keep these thoughts in mind as we proceed to unravel the beasts. To help us determine who the second beast is and when he will appear on the earth, we will also include the information of the Daniel 7 beast in our comparison table. So now there is a table, and we're just going to if you just kind of scan down it, you can see that we've already proven that Daniel 7 and the Revelation 1, the first beast, are similar. But as you scan down, you'll see how 2 is very different. He has 2 horns, not 7 horns. And then you see where he demands worship. And then as you keep scrolling, 13, 14, 15, all those verses give you totally different information. It's not included in the first beast. Now we have all the info listed side by side. It is easy to see the similarities between the Daniel 7 beast and the Revelation 13 beast 1. So straightforward. But beast 2 is different, not the same as beast 1, and by comparison, not the same as the Daniel 7 beast. It would appear for the duration of the reign of beast 2, his major purpose will be to force all humanity to worship beast 1. So with this information, can we place the second beast on our timeline? The answer is yes, considering the fact that this beast creates an image and implements the mark of beast 1. We know that beast 2 is alive before the millennium of Christ. Up until this point, we have not been able to conclusively tie beast 1 and 2 to the little horn. Beast 1 or 2 to the little horn. Let's refer back to the chapter where we read the following, Revelation 20, verse 4.
And I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahusha, and for the word of Elohim, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Mashiach 1,000 years.
We can now clearly identify the timeline position for beast 2. He is before the millennium and after beast 1. He is the only beast that institutes the mark, and he martyrs the saints, both mentioned in Revelation 20, verse 4. Let's quickly create another table and compare the action of beast 2 in Revelation 13 to the information given in Revelation 20, verse 4. So Gabriella's already got that up for me. So you can see that they're identical. Well done. We have now identified all 3 end times beasts mentioned in the book of Revelation, and we can easily place them on the timeline. Is there any further information we can collect about beast 2? Yes, we are about to discover some more, so stay with me. We have a lot more exciting information to cover, like flying angels, 144,000 virgins, and the fall of Babylon. Like Daniel 7 beast, which has 2 titles, we called him the little horn and beast 1. Beast, the first beast of Revelation, also has 2 titles. Now this is going to sound petty, but his name is the beast or the first beast. There is a subtle difference, but it is important that we recognize, although this beast has 2 slightly different names, they are one and the same, not 2 different beasts. This information will help us keep our beast names straight. Now, does the second beast have 2 titles? Let's try to determine this, and I call this our beast name gymnastics. I have a quick review. Let's do a quick review. Beast number 2 is the second beast of Revelation 13 and is alive before the millennium. It follows beast 1 on our timeline. It is also clear beast 2 is not the same as beast 1, as the second beast creates an image of the first beast and causes that image to both speak and come alive. The first beast is somehow killed, while there is no record of the second beast's death. The information given to us in Revelations 19:20 needs to be considered when we are forming a picture of beast 2.
Revelations 19:20, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone.
Here we are explicitly told that beasts number 1 and 2 are both punished at the same time, albeit they are being called by their second titles. Our assumption that they follow one right after another on our timeline is now proven correct, as they are both alive on the earth at the return of Christ, and both are cast into the lake of fire at the same time. It is also reasonable to assume that we have just learned their real names. Beast 1, the first beast, his title name is the Beast, and the beast 2, the second beast, his title name is the false prophet. Isn't that exciting? We have determined who the second beast is, and that he has a second title. Revelation 16:13 supports these findings. Here we see three separate beasts listed by their name titles. They are the dragon, the beast, and the false prophet. We know they are different beings because they each have a mouth and they each release an unclean spirit onto the earth. Verse 13, and I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs coming out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. The Bible is listing 3 separate beings. The first beast listed is called the dragon. He is the last beast that lives after the millennium and who is bound for 1,000 years. We can now identify him by the name he is given in Revelation 20 verse 2. The next beast listed is called the beast, which we have proven to be the first beast of Revelation 13. So we are left with the third beast in the list, who is called the false prophet, and known to us as beast number 2, or the second beast. Are there any further scriptures that support beast 2 in Revelation 13 being called the false prophet? Let's read Revelation 19:20.
And the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into the lake of fire burning with brimstone.
When we consider this description given in Revelation 20, we can identify precisely who the false prophet is. The false prophet does the miracles, deceiving the people into receiving the mark of the beast and into worshiping beast 1. These activities are precisely what beast number 2 and Revelation 13 did. We are left with no doubt that number 2 of Revelation 13 is the false prophet. When considering these facts, we have only one beast in all of Scripture identified as doing miracles in the presence of humanity, that being beast number 2. Revelation 16:13 and Revelation 19:20 do a couple of interesting things for us. First, they establish the title of the Revelation 13 beast, which are beast 1 is called the beast, and the beast 2 is called the false prophet. Second, they tie the beast number 2 and the false prophet together, allowing us to place him on our timeline easily. This verse also clearly establishes the title of all 3 beasts discussed in the book of Revelation. Keeping in mind the definition for the word beast is a dangerous animal, venomous wild beast, it is clear to see that the word beast was well chosen to describe all three entities during the Great Tribulation, or the wrath of the little horn, and the final deception periods. Before we leave this section, we have the title names of the beasts. I can't help but think of the following verse, Revelation 13:7. Do you want me to read it, or do you want to?
And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name.
The Bible does not contain any specific detail as to what the mark will actually look like, but we are told in the next verse that the number is 666. The name of the beast may also not be a mystery any longer. We have read in 2 verses that his name title is the beast. I am not dogmatic about this point. I just offer it up for your consideration. We have 3 more definitions to add to our collection of definitions. First, the beast is the name title of the first beast of Revelation. False prophet is the name title of the second beast of Revelation. The dragon is the name title of the Revelation 20 beast. Now let's add this information to our timeline we are creating. It's developing beautifully. We have arrived at the end of another chapter and completed the objectives of our Revelation 13 study on the word beast. Well done. So you can see that we have added columns 2, 3, and in column 4, we have added some additional information. And then if she scrolls down a little bit more, you can see that in this chapter, we also added 2 witnesses and the dragon loosed. So now we go into chapter 5, which will deal mainly with Revelation chapter 14. Pressing on, the next verse in the book of Revelation, containing the word beast, is a stern warning to those who might consider taking the mark of the beast. I have heard it said, God can do anything. He can, and he will remove the mark of the beast from any Christian who takes the mark in their to save their flesh. These people usually mistakenly place the rapture of the church before the Great Tribulation, and therefore assume these Christians must have been miraculously saved during the reign of the beasts 1 and 2. While I agree God can do anything, I do not agree that he will remove the mark from those who receive the mark of the beast willingly and knowingly. We should not put God to test on this one. God has given us clear and indisputable consequences for just such an action. Revelation 14, 9 through 11.
And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of his holy angels, and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up for ever and ever, and they have no rest, day nor night, who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name.
God's warning and consequences for disobedient are clear. Remember, we are talking about the 70th week of punishment for God's disobedient children. Somehow, I do not think he will overlook this sin of disobedience either. Let's take a more in-depth look at Revelation chapter 14 to see if we can determine who this third angel is, and will this information help or hinder us on our timeline. Revelation 14, 6 through 20.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear Elohim, and give glory unto him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea, and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Elohim, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night, who worship the beast and the image, and whosoever receives the mark of his name. Here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Elohim and the faith of Yahusha. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Right, blessed are the dead which die in the Elohim from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors and their works to follow them. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having on his head golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. And another angel, number 4, came out of the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, Thrust thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. And another angel, number 5, came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel, number 6, came out of the altar, which had the power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, angel number 5, angel number 5, saying, Thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of Elohim. And the winepress was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the winepress, even unto the horses' bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs.
By my count, there are 6 angels, all having differing jobs. By creating a table with this information, it might help us make some sense of these verses for our timeline. So it's just there. We're not going to read it, but we see the angels and what their tasks are. So when I studied this chapter, the following stood out to me. God will begin these events by sending an angel to announce or preach the gospel to all the world. This announcement would mean these events are not a surprise to the people on the earth. They will not only preach the gospel, but they will inform the world that judgment is coming. And number 3, the Babylon the Great will fall. 4, it is a clear warning is given to not take the mark of the beast, which is coming. This warning indicates the mark of the beast will be implemented soon after the fall of Babylon. A clear warning is also given to the saints to keep the commandments and the faith of Jesus, or Yahusha. From this statement, it would appear there is a difference between keeping God's commandments, or Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh's commandments, and keeping the faith of Yahusha. Not either, but both. Jesus, Yahusha, the Son of God, will appear in the clouds, and the last 2 angels will harvest the earth. The event listed above appeared to be an incomplete, or by I mean that there's not all the information included, but there are a list of future events. If this is the case, then we can place 2 more events, like the fall of Babylon and the second angel, it seems reasonable to me that from the information, that some of the information has been left out of this timeline. Perhaps the purpose of it is to create a condensed timeline, a condensed small section of this information so we can see it all at once. Oh, now I've lost myself. To inform all who read the book of Revelation to keep the saying of this book. I have puzzled many times over the following 3 verses, Revelation 1:1-3.
The revelation of Yahushua HaMashiach, which Elohim gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John, who bear record of the word of Elohim and of the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach, and of all things that he saw. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keeping those things which are written therein, for this time is at hand.
I have questioned God, asking him, how do I keep the words written in this book? They are prophetic and as of yet have not happened. Just lately, he showed me what he meant. He said, I mean, keep them in your heart, keep them in your mind, remember them. Keep the words of God hidden in our heart is good advice and will serve us in the near future, at least if we think the future is what we think it is. Remembering the order of these events listed above will help us discern the times in which we live, presuming this is a timeline. Keep in mind, I did not say it was complete or comprehensive. Let's consider if what we have just read fits into the timeline we have created to this point. I have not seen or heard angels have been flying in the heavens preaching the gospel. Babylon does not, as of yet, appear to have fallen. If Babylon embodies the iniquity force or the spirit of Antichrist, then it has not yet fallen or ceased to exist because sin still abounds on the earth today. If Babylon represents the financial sector of our society, it too has not fallen or ceased to be, but rather is still running as designed. Angel number 3's announcement not to take the mark of the beast is still yet to come. We can therefore place this information on our timeline as the mark of the beast that confirms the starting point, and it is from this point we will begin to add information. Using the table above, we will add information to our timeline, making sure it fits. We do not want to force scripture to make it say anything other than the truth. I am very mindful of this fact as I collect my findings and try to record them. You're doing awesome. Thanks for staying with me. So, Gabriella, I believe, has put it up. Yep. So we have the 2 first columns. So we have the gospel being preached and Babylon falls before the mark of the beast, because that warning of that second angel is don't take the mark. So, and then we have the return of Christ and the rapture of the church, which we see Christ in the air. I know that might sound like it wasn't there, but it did. We see that he came in the air, in the clouds, and then we see the final harvest. Now, if you notice, there was a putting in of the sickle and the reaping. I think that happens during the reign of the little horn or beasts 1 and 2. It fits perfectly into our timeline and it is developing beautiful. However, the timeline placement of verses 6 and 7 from Revelation 14 still bother me a bit. And 4 years later, after I've written it, they still bother me. I am not sure I have sufficiently proven that this is a future event, one that still needs to happen, or has it already happened? Let's take a look at the verses again, Revelation 14, 6 and 7.
And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation, and kindred, and tongue, and people, saying with a loud voice, Fear Elohim, and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth, and the sea, and the fountains of waters.
So in Revelation 19 or 1:19, John is told this: write the things which thou hast seen, the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter. It is sure John has seen many things to this point, and I can't help but wonder if Revelation 14:6 and 7 wouldn't qualify to form part of the things which already are. If this is true, the gospel being preached has begun. We have been told the gospel came. Angels announced this at Jesus's birth. We are now being told by many Christian organizations that the gospel has been preached to all the world. Jesus brought the good news of the gospel, and he is still preaching it today. Looking closer at verse 6, it describes an angel as having the gospel to preach. One fulfillment of this verse could be speaking about the birth of Jesus. Luke 2:8 through 14.
And there were in the same country shepherds abiding in the field, keeping watch over their flock by night. And lo, the angel of Elohim came upon them, and the glory of Elohim shone around them, and they were sore afraid. And the angel said unto them, fear not, for behold, I bring you good tidings of great joy, which shall be to all people. For unto us this born this day in the city of David our Savior, which is Christ the Lord. And this shall be a sign unto you. Ye shall find the babe wrapped in swaddling cloths, lying in a manger. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts, praising Elohim and saying, glory to Elohim in the highest, and on earth peace, goodwill toward men.
As we know, prophetic verses can have dual fulfillments. Verse 9 clearly states this angel will sound before the mark of the beast arrives. Therefore, I am not dogmatic about whether this angel has already begun to sound or if it is still a prophetic fulfillment. So, continuing on, chapter 15, Revelation has one more mention of the word beast. But before we look at it, this is an excellent place to take a look at the first part of chapter 14 to refresh our memories. So chapter 13 ended with the description of beast 2, which we have discovered is called the false prophet. We have already addressed Revelation 14:6 through 20. So let's look at the first verse of chapter 14. It opens with the 144,000 virgins from the 12 tribes of Israel. Revelation 14:1 through 5.
And I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on the Mount Sion, and with him 144,000, having their father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven, as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps, and they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the four beasts and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000, which are the redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto Elohim and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of Elohim.
This passage places the return of Jesus right after the Revelation 13 beast, and it fits precisely what our timeline states. Verse 1 opens with the Lamb of God standing on Mount Zion and with the 144,000. In verse 4, we learn the 144,000 redeemed from among men on the earth are the first fruits. According to Thayer's G 345, first fruits means to offer firstlings or of first fruit, to take away the first fruit of the production of the earth, which is offered to God, the first portion of the dough from which sacred loaves were to be prepared. Hence, a term used of a person consecrated to God for all time. Persons superior in excellence to others of the same class. The fact that these men are first fruits sounds like a new beginning, which is precisely what the millennium will be. It will be a reign of peace, something this world has not yet ever known. It would appear with the judgment of the beast and the false prophet and the dragon bound, our world is getting a fresh new start, making these men the first fruits of the millennium. The 144,000 are just the first fruits. This may also indicate there will be much more fruit to harvest in the millennium. And I can't help but think about the martyred saints that will be raised to life and rule and reign with Christ 1,000 years. They could be part of this too, but I digress. The 144,000 virgin men have been separated unto God and are now on earth with Jesus. I would suspect that they have been selected for a distinct purpose and will be given a special task. But why are these men virgins? We know when they have been resurrected. We know they have been resurrected from the dead, for they are called first fruits. But what are the circumstances that made them virgins? I can only surmise, but could they be male children that were martyred for their faith of Yahusha? Time will surely tell. Verse 5 says, they follow the Lamb wherever he goes. Jesus will only be alive one more time, which will be when he rules and reigns during the millennium. Therefore, following the Lamb is only possible if the 144,000 are active during the millennia. The reason I included Revelation 14, 1 through 5, even though there is no mention of the word beast, is to help us place the 144,000. They are an important group of people, and the placement of their appearance has also been misstated. Understanding this passage correctly means that they are alive during the 1,000 years. They have been separated from the rest of the dead at first, as first fruits unto God, and they will follow Yahusha wherever he goes. We are told the Gospels, Jesus only had 12 disciples when he was on earth during his first coming. Therefore, these are they that follow him during his second coming, or at his second coming. The 144,000 will have a specific role to play during the millennial reign of Christ. And while I was doing this, I think Yah showed me something. 12 times 12 is 144. And 12 is significant because it means the perfection of government or rule, or symbolizes God's power and authority. Now, he multiplied that by 1,000, which is also the millennial reign. I mean, I just saw it and I went, wow. Let's make sure to make note of this on our timeline of the 1,000-year heading. So all that we've done on the timelines, this section is just added the 144,000 under the caption, the 1,000 years. That's the only addition in our timeline. And that is it. We are done. You have read it all. Do you guys have anything I can add to my book? Come on.
Well, I guess I have a couple of questions. Since we just got done with the 144,000, why are you so convinced that those are men and not women?
Okay, I have heard that teaching on the women, and I only quoted what the Bible stated and what it has been translated. I am not convinced they are only men. It's simply, I did it so I didn't confuse people, because that's another whole teaching that they might be women. But I don't know how women could be have lain with men. I mean, lain with women, because it says the men have not lain with women. So if we change women, now we have to change this piece to men. Maybe she does it. The teaching I heard was a woman that did it, and she did it very well. And so I'm not convinced. I'm just stating the Bible for confusion's sake. I'm really trying to create a timeline, not question the events or prove or disprove wording within it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And I understand that. One of the other questions that I would ask, and I know we briefly touched on it before, and I guess in going through this, you're convinced that the fall of Babylon happens before the mark of the beast comes. And could you
Well-
explain that a little farther?
Well, that's what we read. We read in that, if those angels are a timeline, and they appear to be a timeline to me. That's why I said, if this is a timeline, they appear, especially if we consider that the gospel being preached is the angels at Jesus's birth. Because that's when the gospel was preached. That's when the gospel came. As far as I know, we don't refer to the Old Testament as the gospel. The gospel is the good news of Jesus's coming. No, unless I have that understanding wrong. So therefore, that would be before. If that is true, and it says that Babylon falls before the mark of the beast. So I've given two options for that meaning of Babylon. Plus, there are three Babylons, which I don't go into here, but there are three Babylons that I can see in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, or maybe Daniel, but there are three different. So I just believe this one falls, and it begins the chaos period for which the dragon, the little horn, the beast, which he rises to cure or fix. And I honestly think we are there. I think we're going to see this piece of Babylon fall.
Okay. I'd like to read out of Second Baruch, if I may.
Sure.
Just for context here, and I'm not trying to.
No. Can I make one thing? I'm going to
Sure.
tell you that I wrote this whole book without ever reading anything other than the KJV. So
Right.
just so you know, I have no reference to that stuff, but I am willing to learn and add it.
Right. And I understand that, and I appreciate it, because that's kind of how I've approached most of this. But as we learn, we have to, I guess,
Sure.
I have a favorite passage that says, when you attain a new truth, you need to live up to it. So,
Amen.
so in Second Baruch, or it actually, I would challenge people to read kind of all of this section, chapter 23, 24, 25, and 6 all lend itself to this. But I don't want to read all of that because, well, we're on a short timeline here. But chapter 27, and he answered unto me and said unto me, into 12 parts is that time divided, and each one of them is reserved for that which it is appointed for. And this is speaking of the last days, okay? So, because the verses before this laid this out. In the first part, there shall be the beginning of commotions. And in the second part, there shall be the slayings of the great ones. And in the third part, the fall of many by death. And in the fourth part, the sending of the sword. And in the fifth part, famine and the withholding of rain. And then the sixth part, earthquakes and terrors. Verse 8 is wanting. And in the eighth part, a multitude of spectras and the attacks of the Sheddaim. And that is the Sheddaim there is devils. Okay, so this is devils coming on. And in the ninth part, the fall of fire. And in the 10th part, rapine, which rapine means the acts of plunder, to carry it away by force. I had to look these words up because I didn't know what it meant. And much oppression. And in the 11th part, wickedness and unchastity. And in the 12th part, confusion from the mingling together of all those things aforesaid. For these parts of that time are reserved, and shall be mingled one with another, and minister one to another. For some shall leave out, and some of their own, and receive it instead from others. And some shall complete their own, and to that of others, so that those may not understand who are upon the earth in those days, that it is the consumption of time. And when I read that, because I've been a student of the book of Revelation for some time as well, it helped me to understand that not everything is maybe going to play out or is revealed the way that it's revealed. some of it, I think, is actually going to take place and mix one with another. And so with that, I guess that's kind of the last question as of now. I'll let Chris go if he's got anything to add.
Well, I don't really have something to add. I'm sure we have, we all have, and that's great because we all have different views, right? And we all have different thoughts on certain things. For instance, let's just bring up the rapture, for instance, right? So, I mean, I'm not going to tell you what my view on that is. I'm not going to say anything about that. But everybody has got some kind of a view on that, and I sort of stay away, which is fine. That Lois has brought it up because it brings things into conversation, and when things are brought into conversation, you can go and search it out for yourself. And I think that's very important because all of us have grown by discussing things, by even having huge cognitive dissonance on certain things because we've learned this for 20 years or 30 years. And so you know, it's time to, but you know, Lois, the thing is about this, and I said it last week, it's a good topic to bring up right now because we've got to start thinking on these lines, and we've got to start speaking about them, and we've got to start verbalizing them. And even if we're reading the scriptures, it doesn't matter on our own point. We are reading it, and but what I have learned, or rather what I have thought, is that we get in Revelation 13, 1, we've got the beast with the 10 horns, and then in Revelation 13:11 we've got 2 horns, which makes a total of 12 horns. We've also got 10 horns of the northern tribes, and we've got 10 horns of the southern, 2 horns of the southern tribes, which is Judah, right? I mean, arguably, because Levi was also mixed up in Benjamin. So interesting for me is maybe, and listen, this is just a thought, right? The little horn is the Reich, or the Roman system, which is giving power unto the 10 and the 2, which makes sense if you look why Yahusha curses the fig tree, because the fig tree is also said as Yasharel. So he curses it because it doesn't bear fruit. It's not going to bear fruit, right? And even though it wasn't its season. So it's just a thought, it's an interesting thought to think about. And it sort of came to mind when we were going through this again. Yeah, so other than that, I don't really have too much. The insulting of the body, which you read on my scripture, because I was reading out of the book on the phone. It was page 60. So the outer court is trampled for the period of time, insulting the body and pressing and so on. I was also just thinking. I was thinking of the soul of man, and then the outer body could be the actual body, which is now hard pressed by all these persecutions and tribulation. It's just a thought. Once again, you know, the outer court being attacked, but the inner court is actually where Yah resides, which is the temple of Elohim, which is our temple, our temple is obviously our body, but the outer court is the flesh. The inner court is the soul. So that's just another thought that it was going through my mind. And then obviously the two witnesses, which are the two menorahs, which are the two olive trees, which the olive tree gives oil to, are the two nations, right? So that's could be Yasharel and then obviously the Gentiles. So it's you know, it's just different thoughts that I'm throwing in the mix, not related, but you know, it's just out there for somebody to think about as well. I mean, as you said, this book was written 4 years ago, and in 4 years, all of us have learned quite a bit, I think. Yeah, you know, that's my little 2 cents of something that may or may not be true.
Can I speak first before you, Carla? Is that okay? Maybe it's okay. Okay.
But of course.
Thank you. But you know, when you said the 10 and the 2 being the tribes, I suddenly saw that would be a perfect. What if the 10 come out of the nations and the 2, that other one, is representative of those? And it supports. And I went, oh my goodness, what you said, like, give me chills. I'm like, oh, that could just be so. I didn't see it when I was writing it. I literally did manually. As you can see, I'm a very black-white person. What it says, I do. I mean, that's it. And I went, oh my goodness, that is absolutely could be a picture. Like a picture of how it's all going to come together, how we're going to have the Jew and the Gentile. It's just another picture of it even then. Now, go to your last one. I had an answer for that one too. What did you say? You said it was about, oh, the trampling of the court.
Trampling of the body, yes. I just want to answer. I just want to answer your question, or rather, what you've just said. It does also tie in to Revelation 2, where it talks about the synagogue of Satan.
Yes. Okay, Chris, from now on, you got to just give 1 point so I can talk to it.
Yeah.
Because when 100%. You give 10, I get lost. I forget. Sorry. Go ahead, Gabriella.
The last one was the trampling of the body.
Yeah, but there was something. Bring it back to me. Okay. Gabriella? Not Gabriella. Carla? Sorry.
Oh, I wanted to praise Abba for giving you this, because I think it's really nice the way that you've presented it, you know, just stating the sequence of events. And I know when you said that we don't have it all clear, we don't have we don't know for sure if it's all at once or one after the other, but this is a very, very good presentation of how to read the timeline. So I wanted to just let you know that I appreciate what you've done, because it clears up a lot, especially for people like me who was completely lost, and it seems to just jump from one end to another and then back to the first. This is really nice, and I appreciate what you've done here.
Thank you, Carla. Thank you. For me too, many years I read that book of Revelation and went around and around and around and around. And I'm like, beast, 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 beast. And I'm like, this has to make some sense. So I praise Yah, because it wasn't me. It just flowed out of me. And I just was the pen that wrote it down. But thank you. Thank you. That's all I can say. Thank you. Okay. Chris, you have your hand up again?
Yeah, I just wanted to second Carla as well on that. You know, look, you've done the hard yards. You're the one who's put the book together. You're the one who's got a certain revelation at a certain time, and you've done the work. That's more than most, right? And the point is that you brought us to a point so that we can discuss things. Obviously, there's new revelation coming to light all the time about this. I mean, you know, nothing's written. Nothing that we thought 10 years ago about Revelation is actually true. Well, very little, put it that way, right? And Yah is now revealing, or Yahusha is revealing himself to us right now. And sorry, Lois, you continue what you had a thought. So let me.
Oh, I remember. you talked about the rapture. That's what I wanted to go back to, because I don't believe there's a rapture the way the church teaches it. I believe the purpose of the rapture is to remove the living and the dead before the wrath. And that's why, so he has to, if we're not appointed to his wrath, it's the removal. But I never have believed the way we were taught. And when you were speaking, now I can't remember that what you exactly said, but it triggered it again. I went, yes, I use the word because it's common to most people. We understand it means the raising of the living and the dead, but I could never understand in the church how you raise them. I would say to the people, okay, so you caught up the saints and you took them away to have this dinner with Yah, which is awesome. But now these people get saved during the time of the Antichrist, and there's 1,000 years. But then the wrath gets poured out after that, because why would he destroy it before? Or how does he kill him at the end? And does he take us all off, or does he just bomb the whole earth and everybody dies? And that's how we get to the judgment. Like, I would have all these questions that I'm saying, it does not make any sense what you're saying. So that's my pleading, was started with Yah, I'm guessing 30, 40 years ago. I can remember being in the Foursquare Church, and I would say to the pastor, I'd say, sit down and tell me how does this work? And most of them said to me, Lois, really, I don't know. I just read the book of Revelations once a year because I believe it's my duty to at least get them thinking. But he said, I don't have any answers. And even my brother, if he's listening to this, is a pastor. When I started this, I was in Mexico in 2019, when I just said, I've got to get home. I've got to write a book. How do I write a book? Because he was writing books at the time for his college. And I'm saying, how do I write a book? And I got home and I literally wrote the book. And it was like, I was like totally crazy to me, because I'm so dyslexic, I can't even read. And then I'm thinking, and I'm writing a book, and I laughed, Chris, when you said angel. I cannot see the difference between angel and angle. It is the same word to this way. You know, I fit good in Hebrew because I only see the A or the G and the L. I don't get those other things in there. So that's what I want to say, is I use the word rapture in my book because it's understandable. It means the catching up of the living and the dead. But I believe its only purpose is to remove us for the wrath to come. I can't see another reason.
You know, and I think that's absolutely a great point that you make there. I would just I've also now forgotten what I wanted to say, so I'm going to give it over to John.
John.
Okay, so I guess I do have one more question kind of tied into this. Chris kind of touched on it earlier. Because as I've studied through this, and I know you've identified it and as the little horn, as the first beast, and it may be I've kind of viewed it slightly different than that. Where does the man of lawlessness then fit in to this whole scheme of things?
It's another name for the little horn, beast one. It's another name, because that's the way I see it.
But is that the case? Because the man of lawlessness is actually the man who is inhabited by Satan, just as Judas Iscariot was. I see the beast and the man of lawlessness as two different ones, two different deities or beings.
Well, can I research it and we'll bring it back?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, because to me, they have been one and the same. Man of lawlessness. That's in 2 Thessalonians, isn't it?
So what I think, and this is purely what I'm thinking, is that the little horn is the beast that comes from Babel all the way down through Rome. And this person is actually working, he knows exactly who he's working for. But when he comes back and he's inhabited, well, then that's his body is probably inhabited by the devil, and so it's not him really anymore. Cool.
Okay. I was trying to look up lawlessness, but I'm too dyslexic, can't even spell it. This is a pain being me.
Well, I must say, Lois, you did very well with the reading. You know, me being totally not dyslexic, that's why I can say angel just well. I was very impressed by your reading.
I laughed out loud when you read it wrong. I went, oh boy, I didn't catch that. because it's not a misspelling, right? So, you know, it just doesn't catch it. But anyways, see, I'm going to look into that, the man of lawlessness, because in my opinion, it's a man, so it can't be the dragon. It can't be the 20. It can't be Revelation 20. It has to be before, because it says, but anyways, we could debate it, but without having stuff in front of me, I can't. Anyways, I wish I could. I wish I was like Dr. P. Could I have his memory, please? Well, is there any further discussion? Okay, well then let's just close this one in prayer, and we'll come back next week. Heavenly Father, Abba, we love you. We exalt you and we praise you and we worship you, and we state that you are King of Kings, you are Lord of Lords, and you are coming and returning for your own. We thank you that you've given us your word, that we can understand and know, and that we can rest assured that even during the times of the dragon, when he is ravaging the temple, your worshipers are in the temple and they are protected by you. I was so encouraged when I saw that's where the worshipers were. And I thank you. I pray, Father, that you will just continue to guard our hearts, continue to block wrong teachings that want to enter and confuse us, but allow us to have total revelation of your word, so that when we read it, it will stay in our hearts and stay in our minds, and we will walk in your truths and we will walk with you. And having done all, we will stand and continue to say you are Lord of Lords and King of Kings, and that we will never, never deny you as our Lord. Thank you, Father. Amen.
Thank you, Lois and John, Chris, and Carla. And see you next week. And the chapters will be in chapter 7 and so chapter 6 and Revelation 15-16, 7 last plagues. That is our program next week. And welcome then again back to STI. Shalom, shalom.